Indeed, welcome everyone to the world's Cooldown, where we're going to comb over today's action and look forward to our final day of the play-in group stage, which is tomorrow. First things first then, that Nation Focus Me does it in the end, in the tiebreaker. They left it a little late. You predicted it all, though. At the beginning of the day, you said, I think it's going to come down to a tiebreaker, and that Nation Focus Me is going to win.
They used the same kind of composition they did when they started off the group. It was the Ardent Sensor, Athene's Unholy Grail, double AD carry, really respectful, and it was just pushing Kaboom. And this is Kaboom's major issues, is that oftentimes they don't get punished in being over-aggressive and CB LOL. This was a composition was completely preying on that.
Exactly. I mean, when you see the Nidalee pick come in against this composition, I think you're so excited with how many defensive tools you have to stop the Nidalee from being able to kill you all the time. And, you know, that's unfortunate that they had to play up against that, but that Nation's
so
pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean,
looks like.
Wouldn't you be? Your first time at Worlds, and maybe what is more, the first time internationally that Japan is able to advance to the knockout stage of the next round of whatever they entered in for the LGL. This is absolutely huge.
And remember, Udapon and Suros have been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
The fact that they've gone this far, haven't found that success, and for them to make it past this stage to a best of 5 to prove their worth to their own country is a massive feeling for them. So really kudos to them.
Yeah, when I was speaking to some of the experts, they say, well, it's a relatively small server, a new server, so we really need that like coming of age moment with not maybe as much talent as there is just ups for grabs for the other regions. And I think it shows, and you mentioned it, Udapon's been around forever. Evi's been around for a very long time. They've all been grinding for this.
That's exactly what I was going to say is, you know, Detonation is the oldest LGL team, but they do have some new players in there, and especially with Evi coming over from Rampage last year, it was really cool to see him come back, and he was an absolute beast, and one of the biggest members, I think, for getting them out of this group.
Yeah, especially in this game. We will also hear from Udapon in just a little bit, but I do want to take a look at where groups C and D land after all the action. Cloud9 and DFM are out from Group C. Unfortunately, that's the end of the road for Kaboom Esports, and then GRex as first seed and Gambit as second out of Group D, with Chaos Latin Gamers going home, unfortunately for those.
Yeah, so just to speak on Kaboom, a lot of expectations for them to at least get out of groups. The fact that they couldn't really shines a light on a lot of their weaknesses and just playing a slower game. People come back to this years afterwards and just look at, of course, Chitan jumping forward on Tristana versus Cloud9. Both these teams had great opportunities versus C9 because they showed holes, but not being able to nail it on those crucial moments.
Yeah, and I don't want to kick them when they're down, but unfortunately for the CB LOL, I don't think it's been that positive in the last kind of year and a half. Of course, the epic upset over EDG at Worlds for me was kind of the last epic moment that I remember in recent history. They have been struggling in the play-in stages mostly this year, also at MSI to get further. So I don't know what's next. I think they need to take a hard look at themselves, so in this team, in Kaboom, and then maybe the other representatives that emerge.
Yeah, just more experience, I think. Because remember, this is the second international in performance that this team, this squad has really found for themselves. And prior to this, if we're talking about INTZ having that explosive match versus EDG back then, they actually had to go through the IWCIs time and again to find themselves in that opportunity. So for me, it does mean that like 2019 is that much more interesting to watch for this squad.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see what goes on there in the CB LOL. I also want to take a closer look at the 4 teams that have qualified for the next stage of Worlds 2018. And let's take a look at how their chances are in a best of 5. Let's start with Cloud9. They qualified as first seed. They went 4-0, and some of the games may have been hard for them, but you guys don't have any doubts that they will make the best of 5s. Why is that?
Well, I just think it depends on who they draw. We keep talking about Group B, but outside of them, I think they had pretty stiff competition in their group, all things considered, and they didn't lose a game. It got close a couple of times, but I think sometimes you saw them experimenting, trying different things, and I think, you know, when it comes down to it, they do have a pretty good system that they can use, and you know, domestically, when that system starts to break down, they have Sven Skaren as a sub that they can bring.
Oh, we haven't even seen him yet.
Right, we haven't seen him yet. No one's going to know what he's playing. He does tend to favor the more controlled style. So you have to pivot really quickly when you see Sven Skaren, and it can be hard for teams to do.
Yeah, and the stat what we saw on our screen really showcases the strength that they have. They were in a pretty tough group, and the fact that they were able to get that gold lead, 15 minutes, but then lose so much of it, up to 25, actually speaks a lot to the fact that they do bring in Svensker and they'll have the consistency to really round that up. I think that the fact that they have this strong of an early game speaks well to their best of fives.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see who they get drawn against. And in the same group, Detonation Focus Me also qualified. I'm a bit up in the air because I thought they had a wonderful day one. They showed a lot of strengths on a lot of fronts. Then they came into the day kind of abandoning the plans that worked for them. How do you think they will do with a day or two of practice?
Remember, Worlds is tough competition. So I'm not, like, honestly sure they can get past this point, but we're talking about EDG, we're talking about GRex. It's not looking good. Sure, they're incredibly happy that they got to this stage, but there's so much room for growth here, and we're talking about top-tier competition to really get to that point.
Yeah, I think they're pretty big underdogs against every Pool 1 seed that we've seen thus far. I do like the kind of style that they have, but sometimes it does feel like they kind of tunnel on, like, this is what we're going to play heading into this game. And the biggest thing about best of fives is adaptations, of course. And we haven't really seen that. We saw the same couple comps a couple times, and I want to see how they react when someone beats that comp. Like, what do they do from there?
A possible opponent might be GRex. They are the first seed out of Group D. They were quite a surprise to a lot of people. Third seed from the LMS, and in the end, making true on what was actually true for the LMS for a very long time. They are a major region, and all of their seeds used to be competitive. And they, I think, are showing up as possibly a new strong generation.
Yeah, I mean, and those stats are disgusting. I mean, almost a 2,500 gold lead at 15 minutes. The major lead at 43% of the time is huge. And so this is a squad that I thought looked super good, and I love that we saw different looks out of them. We know Candy loves playing Assassins in the mid lane, but we also just saw plenty of Syndra and Cassio, these kind of control mages recently, and that speaks to having that flexibility in a best of five.
And I wonder who they're going to play to once they get pushed in the 2v2 mid, because honestly, the fact that they can then go towards Stitch, who had a phenomenal game today, or PK, who's a great carry top laner. We saw one Camille game later, like on one of the group teams that picked it up. So I feel like if they get pushed in a best of five, that they have so many options to play through in their other solo laners.
I agree. MT, of course, has been an absolute revelation. It'd be interesting to see mid-jungle-wise where they actually have a lot of competition. We can look at who they get drawn into in the end. The second seed, though, from that group was Gambit. Yeah, that was hit and miss, I think. To be completely honest, I don't have that much faith for them going into best of fives. I feel like a lot will have to change.
Yeah, kind of we were just showing the stats about why GRex looks so good. That means that Sona's on the other end of that beating, and despite being, 1-1 today, that's still abysmal looking stats.
Yeah, I think that Gambit right now are looking to be the weakest of the tier 2 teams coming into this. And I think Kira, I haven't seen this much, like this worse of a performance coming out of Kira specifically in the laning phase. Kira has always been one of the standout performers. And just to my point about this, he played the Zoe and he played LeBlanc, I believe. He played real stock standard champions, and it really felt like the champions that you look to really master, he's more of he either has a weirder champion pool, but he hasn't really mastered.
Well, he definitely has a weird champion pool. I mean, his Anivia is like his go-to, and he also played two very different champions from what he played on day one when he went for the Galio insert. So it feels like he doesn't even know where he wants to go.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say is like the two matchups he played today were skillier matchups. Like these are things that can go either direction, and he got kind of slammed in both of them. And then the one good game he played is the Galio, where he's working as a facilitator to his team, which does not speak to his individual matchups that well. And going into tougher Pool 1 competition in the best of five, I am really concerned about how he stacks up.
That being said, if he can come out as facilitator, I think that works well for them because Logic is looking very good. I think his AD carry as the rookie, I suppose. I mean, I know that we saw him coming into MSI.
He seems like the best player on that team.
He is the best player, and so we need to see a lot more of the team rallying around him.
All right, let's take a look at the today's MasterCard players of the game. It's been 7 games, so from the first 6, GRex, no surprise, Candy, wonderful performance, Diamond Prox, and that win from Gambit, Stitch, Sneaky, Ranger, and Licorice. Interestingly enough, there's a couple of people here that were not in the first couple of days. Ranger, who tried today, who did well in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to him. He was someone that we were all kind of calling out a little bit on the first day, wanting to step up, and I think he did it all day long and did get that first player of the series, of course, or player of the game, excuse me, but couldn't quite figure it out in that last game. The Nidalee pick just doesn't, I don't like it.
Yeah, I think that if we're talking about consistent performance for Kaboom, it was him and Jinkedo that were doing quite well throughout the tournament. And then if we're looking about players that I really clanged on to, Licorice and specifically, I know that we're going towards the top laner, so...
I just want to mention that Evie was the player of the game for the last one.
There we go. I love the fact that he was able to get it. So like Licorice, Evie, great top laners
Yeah.
coming out of the groups that I really enjoy from both C9 and Detonation Focus Me.
There we go, and we're hoping for a lot more superstar performances of the players as we go on. And I think Ovali is standing by because she caught up with Utapon to hear about their victory.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Utapon, the AD carry for DFM. Congratulations on your win. This is now the furthest that Japan has ever gotten in the entire history of Worlds. So what does it mean to you to have brought the team this far?
はい、ADC のユタポンさんに、来ていただいております。プレインのラウンド2に出場ということで、LJL で史上初の、快挙となるわけですけれども、今の気持ちはいかがなのでしょうか。
そうですね、最初に1勝できて、結構感触は良かったんですけど、その後に3連敗かなをして、で結局やっぱここでまた僕たち終わっちゃうんじゃないかっていう不安もある反面、途中なんかその最後の試合の途中からすごいエビさんがもう動きだとかボイスだとかですごいもう元気づけてくれて、そこで勝ててもうすごいここからも頑張れるなって思えてすごい良かったなって思ってます。
So we had a really very good start, beating Kaboom at the first day, but then we lost 3 games in a row, and then a team, and he was very concerned about maybe we're gonna lose it again. LJ are not gonna make it for next round. But then Evie, the top laner, was very cheerful and very aggressive in the last fight, and so everybody brought it up their morale and then came back.
He did have some amazing Urgot ults, but kind of going back to the LJL, historically, the LJL has not had very strong performances in any international events, but now you guys really have a chance to change that and to really draw a spotlight to your team and your region. So what kind of an impression do you hope to leave here at Worlds?
LJL って今までインターナショナル国際戦であまりいい成績を残していなかったわけですけれども、これでプレイインラウンド2でですねノックアウトに行くということでこういろんな海外から注目を得ることになるんですけれども、LJL としてですね印象というか残していきたい爪痕みたいなものってどんなものがありますでしょうか。
やっぱり今回僕たち結構意識してたのは自分たちのやりたいことをやるってことで、このプレイスタイルを見せつける世界に、それが本当に目標だったんです。で今回この最初のステージ突破できたっていうことで、自分たちのプレイスタイルどういうものか、日本がどういうものかっていうのをすごいちゃんと見せれたかなって思って、それがすごい良かったなって思ってます。
So LJL has very unique play style, and our goal was to actually show the play style to the world, and then by winning and then moving on to the round 2, I think we have successfully made that happen.
Well, I'm sure a lot of fans are incredibly happy to see you guys move on. Utapon, thank you again so much, and best of luck to you in the upcoming stage. That's it for us here. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much.
I am stunned she didn't ask him about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or something. She just talks about that show incessantly.
Listen, come on. This is like Avali's first Worlds, and she's trying to do a good job, and you're like the devil on her shoulder, be like, talk about anime. That is also like short-sighted of you. We got to talk about the victory, man. It's more than anime to Japan.
I know. I'm just surprised given how she comes on my show sometimes and just talks about anime.
Well, I mean, Worlds, your show. Come on now. Alrighty. Any case, let's look forward. Great job, Avali. Don't listen to him. Looking forward, groups C and D are decided. So now we will look at who their possible opponents may be. This is the schedule for groups A and B. And straight off the bat, Supermassive takes on G2. I'm not nervous at all. What are you talking about?
God, it feels like every day you always get that first game being the one that draw your eyes. So 100% Supermassive versus G2. And remember, G2 have to do it twice.
Yeah.
So they get this victory, congratulations. Wait until the end unless Ascension comes out with a surprise victory. So Ascension is that team that you do have to watch and say, don't get slipped up a few times. The early games with Ascensions have been really surprising.
So yeah, let's just talk about what do you guys think is going to happen?
I mean, we saw it in the first time where like they were able to make a lot of plays against G2. Now, they often came at the expense of their own XP and CS, so they have to be a little smarter about it. But if like G2 can get pulled down just a little bit more into that kind of like just barnyard fight, then that actually is a game that they can lose. I mean, that's basically what happened with the Kaboom story that we talked so much about with against Alliance way back in the days. You just get pulled into this super early game scrappy situation.
Well, I feel like it's such a momentum thing, right? Because at Supermassive game, they said that they thought Supermassive is really strong, but I think they also believe that if they play better, they definitely have a better chance, right? Because they did nothing in that game. I think it's a momentum thing, because if you lose that one, then you're in that zone of, and now we have to win versus Ascension, or it might be all over. If you win that one, you're golden, of course, obviously. But yeah, it's close, and I think I don't know. I don't see Supermassive dropping a game, to be honest.
Ooh, I'm going to come in here and I think that it will go to a tiebreaker.
Well, then I have to, you're always right.
Wait a second.
Yes.
I'm going to take it. So I feel like, remember, the biggest point that G2 came out of that one is drafting. And what drafts meant for me for that specific game was that if they lose on that early window, they didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Like at that point, Perks was completely useless. And you have to empower your strongest player. So coming into the next series, I feel like they're going to go for tank top, regular, let's say, Oriana. It's just something that can.
Oriana, no.
I use that as a stock.
It's like you go like from account.
I went to a stock standard pick that says if
Yeah.
you lose your early game, that you still have an opportunity later on in the game that can give you that chance in team fights.
So I definitely agree about the idea of like the win conditions. They themselves admitted that they felt pretty narrow in that game. I still think I would want Wunder not on a tank. They had that in that game, and that was one of the reasons I thought their win conditions was hurt, because Wunder getting his own leads is something that I thought was always really important for them in their wins. So not having that option felt bad. So I do agree, maybe not so like, here's a Kali, Perks, carry us, you're our main threat.
Yeah.
But I would still like to see a fair amount of aggressive picks because they are a good early game team.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. You have to put stock in Perks. I mean, I think he can do it, and maybe I'm just delusional, but I think it was a one-off that he isn't able to do anything on Akali, and all credit to Supermassive. But yeah, it is tricky because you can't start doubting yourself in this moment.
Yeah, and remember, Jankos did have a great early game lead last time around. He's a great early game jungler, so if we're talking about early game, they should be able to get it. Comes down to how you end up going towards the team fights. So 100%, G2 for me. I think they should take that run back. But if it goes into the tiebreaker, I'm going to have Supermassive because they feel like a much more co-sync line.
For number one, then.
100%.
So number one, Supermassive. Number two, G2.
What you
Mark?
got? What you got?
G2. What was it, yesterday? I think I said G2. I'll still say G2 for now, but I want to see how they look.
G2 first?
Yeah, I'll take G2 for the first one. I'm holding out a little bit on the tiebreaker.
Lock it in.
All right, yeah, give me G2 Supermassive. Just
all right, there we go then. And then EDG, of course, Direwolves and Infinity in the other group. EDG look untouchable. Looks like even with the small hiccups in the later game.
Yeah, that one feels pretty cut and dry, where Schernfire should be coming back in the Direwolves. They had already beaten Infinity pretty convincingly without him. This should just be a bolster of their early game, and EDG put the smackdown real hard on both teams. So this group feels kind of cut and dry.
What you gonna say?
My opinion is, my thought is that there is a world in which you have this like new order with the Direwolves, the fact that Schernfire was gone, and all of a sudden they played kind of a different way. Triple felt kind of enabled to do his thing. The bottom lane was okay. And if Schernfire comes in, he also is a guy that does attract a lot of attention to himself and gets a lot of resources to himself to carry. And I think that is a change that they'll have to deal with that could make it worse for them just because of the change, not because Schernfire's a worse player.
I like how you embed that, because I remember, experiencing the LPL. WE lose Kandi, and suddenly Shea looks like the best mid laner there next to Rookie. That could be a possibility. That being said, I have so much faith. I know Schernfire is a player, and I know how much confidence he instills in the lineup because he's the best jungler in Oceania by far.
Hey, Ubisoft looked pretty good.
You got smashed early game. I don't want to hear it. And so this should be a major bolster to the lineup that they're going to be playing through him. And then you already have Triple. We saw what Cupcake could do in the bottom lane. I think they come out second with EDG on
Also,
top.
no disrespect to Ubisoft. It's really impressive to step on the world stage and play those games.
Right, and is EDG playing Infinity first tomorrow?
Yeah, right after Supermassive.
Right, which is what concerns me, is if they just get slammed again, like how's their confidence going up against Direwolves, where if you win, you do force a tiebreaker potentially, but like, are you really going to be able to take that mental beating again? Yeah,
that is a good point. We'll see how it goes. That will do it for us here for tonight. We're going to say goodbye to Lopar and Soul and to everyone here, from myself, the casters, and the entire crew. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for the conclusion of Play in Groups. Our first contenders for the knockout stage will be decided as GRex and Gambit Esports gear up for our first game of the day.
He doesn't often build towards Grit. Kira could be in some trouble.
But oh yeah, that's a really nice dark spear.
Dion! Nice.
Sonic is cutting out of the way, but still actually the damage is there. Fix might be able to find his way out of there, but he's taking too much. Sonic grabbing so many shutdowns, and Kira, he just went straight for the base.
Does it ever end? PK now trying to keep himself alive, and they get the kill over onto Nate, and it will be done. Vic's gonna be the next one as Nate cannot help his team. GRex takes down the Nexus over Chaos Land Game.
Unfortunately, not able to pick up a win.
ベイン守ったら勝ちだから
マイティンスティール
中ナイス
He actually stole it! Kaboom have to be thinking, how do we let it happen again? Frontliner not so hot as Zantine. He's gonna go in onto Unipon. Missed the next one. Unipon trying to dance around it, but he does go down to electrocute.
What are we talking about? He's calling me a dolphin and not a fish. Wait, that's pretty cool. I'd rather be a dolphin than a fish.
Blabber goes down. Kaboom is chasing Cloud9 back to their base, and Dinkado is looking for Sneaky in the brush. He finds the kill, and Kaboom come up huge.
Okay, Tristan.
Okay to fight.
I blocked it. Can we look at? Trish. Nice. We got him. Nice job, guys.
Distortion over the wall, into Flash, into Distortion. Still in range. Oh, he tries to distort back. That is one of my favorite interactions. Now Saros could be going down as Jensen is in. Saros alive. Still going Orb back in from the side. Justin's disabled. Licorice and Zazel are pretty much in a bad spot. Steel a little too far away from the Baron. And it's going to be Saros that's able to steal it. The Guardian Angel's not going to do as much for him. And it is just a wash here for Cloud9 as they're finding all the members they need. Pretty grueling fight here for Xanthus as getting walked around the patella piercers. How is Rift Herald even still walking around as the kills start to go? Xanthus in World Ender, but he could go down.
카이사 높은 레시. 이달리. 베이스. 나이스.
Detonation Focus Beam taking second seed in Group C.